Hi friends, in today's video we're going to talk about appendicitis, and if you like this video make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe below, and also check out all the free resources I have for you guys down below. But let's get into the video. So appendicitis. What is appendicitis? It's inflammation of the appendix, which is a small finger-like appendage attached to the end of the intestine. So if you look at this picture, you can see the inflamed appendix at the end of the intestines, or the large intestines. The appendix empties into the colon ineffectively, and its lumen is small. It is prone to becoming obstructed and is vulnerable to infection, which would be an appendicitis. So the pathophysiology of appendicitis is first an obstruction. So the appendix becomes inflamed, and as a result of becoming kinked or occluded by a tumor or foreign body, it becomes inflamed and increases the pressure and initiating a progressively severe, generalized, and periumbilical pain. Periumbilical is an important word. If you see that on a question, it's probably appendicitis. Pain. The pain becomes localized in the lower right quadrant of the abdomen within a few hours, and it can also lead to pus formation, as the inflamed appendix will actually fill up with pus. So this is a chart of the pathophysiology. You know, guys, that I love charts. If you watch my other videos, the pathophysiology charts. It just makes it so easy because it puts it all into a nice little printout. So you can always print this out if you want, take a screenshot. But this pretty much goes over all of the pathophysiology related to appendicitis. So again, we see that obstruction of the lumen, which leads to appendix distension and spasm, which leads to increased lumen pressure, decreased blood flow to the appendix, as well as stretching of the visceral peritoneum, stimulating of the autonomic nerves T9 to T10. This will lead to ischemia, tissue necrosis, loss of appendix, structural integrity, and the stretching of the viscera will progress to inflammation over several days, which will lead to dull, crampy, diffuse umbilical pain, which may develop into diarrhea, constipation, vomiting, or anorexia. You'll see the irritation of the peritoneum, stimulating of somatic nerves, and then you can also see the bacterial invasion of the appendix wall. So this kind of gives you a great overview of everything that we're talking about. So I just think this is a great chart. So some statistics. It's the most common reason for emergency abdominal surgery in the United States, and it occurs usually between ages 10 and 30. So clinical manifestations that we'll see include vague epigastric or periumbilical pain that progresses to the right lower quadrant pain, usually accompanied by a low-grade fever, nausea, and sometimes vomiting. We can see tenderness, so in about 50% of presenting cases, local tenderness is elicited at McBurney's point when pressure is applied, and rebound tenderness, or the production of intensification of pain when pressure is released, or we may see Roving's sign, which may be elicited by palpating the lower left quadrant, and this paradoxically causes pain to be felt at the right lower quadrant. All right, so some complications. We can have perforation of the appendix. This is a major complication, which can lead to peritonitis, abscess formation, or portal phlebitis. Perforation generally occurs 24 hours after the onset of pain, and symptoms include a fever, a toxic appearance, and continued abdominal pain and tenderness. So nursing assessment and diagnoses, we can look at CBC count. Complete blood count will show an elevated white blood cell with elevated neutrophils. We can look at some imaging studies, so abdominal x-rays, ultrasound, CT scan can reveal right lower quadrant density or local distension of the bowel. We can do a pregnancy test just to rule out ectopic pregnancy before x-rays are obtained. We can do a laparoscopy, which may be used to rule out acute appendicitis in certain cases. And we can use C-reactive protein so this protein is produced by the liver when bacterial infections occur and rapidly increases within the first 12 hours. So medical management, we can provide IV fluids to correct fluid and electrolyte imbalances and dehydration. They'll also be administered prior to surgery. We can also administer antibiotic therapy to prevent sepsis, and they can be administered pre-surgery as well. We can look at drainage. So when perforation of the appendix occurs, an abscess may form and the patient is initially treated with antibiotics, and the surgery may place a drain in the abscess. Surgical management includes appendectomy, or a surgical removal of the appendix, and this will be done as soon as possible, or a laparotomy or laparoscopy, and both of these are safe and effective in the treatment of appendicitis and perforation. So nursing management will assess the level of pain, will assess laboratory findings and vital signs prior to surgery. These are just some examples of nursing diagnoses. So acute pain related to obstructed appendix, risk for deficient fluid volume related to pre-operative vomiting or post-operative restrictions, and risk for infection related to ruptured appendix. Planning and goals. So we can relieve pain, prevent fluid volume deficits, reduce pain, eliminate infection due to potential or actual disruption of the GI tract, maintain skin integrity, and attain optimal nutrition. And as we prepare for surgery, these are some of the interventions. So we'll have that IV infusion. We may give antibiotics. We will position the patient after surgery, placing the patient in high Fowlers to reduce the tension on the incision and abdominal organs, thereby reducing pain, and we'll provide oral fluids when tolerated. And our evaluation will include, and these are just some examples because again, this is how your patient responds to those interventions. So relieved pain, relieved fluid volume deficit, reduced anxiety, eliminated infection due to potential or actual disruption of the GI tract, maintained skin integrity, and attained optimal nutrition. Discharge and home plan guidelines. So removal of sutures. The nurse can instruct the patient to make an appointment with the surgeon to remove the sutures between the 5th and 7th day after surgery. Heavy lifting is to be avoided post-operatively. However, normal activity can be resumed within 2 to 4 weeks. And a home care nurse may be needed to assist with incision care and monitor for complications and wound healing. And documentation guidelines. So we want to document the patient's response to pain, acceptable level of pain, prior meds used. Laboratory tests are assessment of the surgical site, signs and symptoms of infection, recent or current antibiotics used, plan of care and teaching plan, response to interventions, teaching and actions performed, attainment or progress towards desired outcomes, modifications of the plan of care, and long-term needs. So that is the discussion on appendicitis. If you guys liked this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe below, and make sure to check out all those free resources as well as my NCLEX study guide and pharmacology study guide. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.